I just look at the forward environment, and they're opening up the floodgates to institutional capital for the first time. And like even like the weird like NFT like buy a bunch of tokens and meet a creator things are like starting to happen. Like all these experiments that crypto people have wanted to happen are like being legalized. The capital is allowed to travel here, and I don't know. Very short-term oriented traders on the timeline are finding reasons to get out, which is it's good for us.
Quick shout out to today's sponsor, Algorand. We'll hear more about their AlgoKit 3.0 and how it's built to supercharge your app development on Algorand later on in the episode.
Nothing said on 0x Research is a recommendation to buy or sell securities or tokens. This podcast is for informational purposes only, and any views expressed by anyone on the show are solely our opinions, not financial advice. Boccaccio, Ryan, and our guests may hold positions in the companies, funds, or projects discussed.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of 0x Research. Today, I'm joined by my right-hand man, Boccaccio, and Mark Arjun, and we're waiting on Cash Flows Connor. He will be here shortly, don't worry. But we're going to get into it. And before we chat on anything, Bach, I want to give a quick shout out, as you know, to Permissionless. It's coming up in, I want to say, 3 weeks now? June 24th through the 26th. We're already in the month of June. Time is flying. 0x10 is the code for 10% off. What can the fans, the audience, the listeners look forward to at Permissionless, Bach?
Just hanging out. We're going to be hanging out. It's going to be nice. We're going to do drinks one night. We'll have dunk tank during the actual event. Chess. There's one more thing. There's multiple things happening in the event space. It'll be fun. I think if you are interested in chatting to Danny, Mark, Ryan, or any of the other Blockworks research analysts, you should show up. It'll be fun. Last time we crashed Felix, Fejao, the macro guys event. This time I think he's going to be crashing ours. So we'll also have him, potentially Quinn. I don't know if Quinn's going to be showing up, to be honest with you. He blocked me. So we'll have to see, but there he is. But it should be pretty fun. So if you are going to come to Permissionless, well, if you aren't going to come to Permissionless, you should come to Permissionless so we can hang out. It'll be a good time, a jolly good time. Welcome, Ryan.
If you don't come, Bach is going to eat you. So
Definitely
make
true.
sure you get your tickets. 0x10, 10% off. Link in the description. Check it out. Get some tickets. We'll see you there. Let's jump into it today. Ryan, great of you to join us. How are we doing today, folks? I think we talked a little bit about the markets last week on the live stream. How do we feel today? It seems there's still this creeping uncertainty. People are pointing to Bitcoin Treasury and other crypto treasury companies as it feels toppy. What do we feel about that?
I have something to share, although it doesn't look as good as I wanted it to. So it's not a chart, so I apologize about that. It's just numbers. I think that's fine. So this is, if you are not tracking Bitcoin flows, you can do it through this website, farsideinvestors.co.uk. We had, I need to zoom in. Sorry, guys.
You can also do this on the Blockworks analytics website now.
Oh, very good. We'll do that next time. Daniel Smith will just get upset with me for this episode. We had 615 mil in net outflows on Friday, and like 350 mil in net outflows on Thursday. So we're seeing quite heavy outflows from the ETF products. Surprisingly, I think the ETH ETF actually had inflows over those 2 days. Not huge inflows, 90 mil and 70 mil, but still like net inflows, which is Ryan Connor is very upset about it. Daniel Connor. On the other side, again, the third week I'm mentioning it, people like MicroStrategy clones keep buying Bitcoin and other dog shit. Apparently there's stuff for XRP now. There's this one in Japan called MetaPlay that just bought today.
Metaplanet.
Metaplanet. Sailor bought today. So there's clearly a lot of inflow, but Westy was talking about it on our analyst call this morning. You guys were all there. Ryan, you weren't there. And basically it's like, it feels really toppy because we have a lot of these clones. And we also have net outflows in BTC. But also every week you look at the news and it's something positive, either on the regulation side or on the market side. Like it's still good. Like inflows from MicroStrategy copycats are not particularly exciting, but there's clearly interest in crypto from institutions. So it's kind of in a weird spot actually. Like we're still at 105K, I think. I haven't checked charts today or yesterday. So the market's up. We actually had a green day across alts as well today. I'm just like in a weird spot. I think a lot of people are in a weird spot right now. If you go in the trenches, you might lose some, you might win some. But it's like it's not as clear as it was before, where it was like when we're really going up, everything's going up, and we're really going down, everything's going down. Kind of a weird spot. That's my take. Like I don't have any edge right now, so I'm just holding on to whatever spot I have, and I've closed my perps. Just seeing what the market gives, and then based on that, I'll decide. Maybe I'll cut spot below like 100K or something, but I'm not like rushing to do anything.
Quick question: do we know, Bok? Do you know? Does anybody know if all of these like micro strategy clones that have announced that they're doing this, are they like fully deployed, or is it like they're going to deploy, or is it partial? Do we know?
Metaplanet, for context, is similar to Strategy, where they're posting the like post facto, like, hey, we bought X amount at this average price. And actually, Sailor kind of mocked them because their announcement was like 100. They bought more than Strategy did, but they bought at a higher price than he did, like announcing it 6 hours later. So he kind of mocked them, even though he usually has awful execution. Like I think people typically comment on like, how did you even buy above, market price for the time period? So I thought that was like a funny thing to point out. But the buys were very like small for Strategy, like 75 million, I think, announced today.
Yeah, I mean, he bought 705 BTC, which is quite small for him. Given that he bought in Q4 last year, Q4 2024, he bought 20 bill or something in BTC. Mark, to answer your question, I don't know about BTC stuff. I know for the alts, like SOL, specifically like the SOL strategy stuff, it was undeployed last time I checked, which was like a month ago. So I feel like we would have seen if they had started deploying it. But like the 100 mil that they initially had was undeployed. They didn't buy any SOL, or they didn't seed it. They just seeded with capital, and they were waiting for something. I need to check on this.
Yeah, a lot of the newer ones, I think it's, they've completed raises for funding, and some have maybe started buying. Like I think by now, Soul Strategies, Janiver, like a couple of those ones from weeks back, have already purchased some. But I think for the most part, like when you see these announcements, it's like funding have not bought anything yet. Or maybe they've started buying, but there's no confirmation.
Yeah, it makes sense. Because I know like SharpLink, I think we talked about this last time. There is 425 million from ETH Treasury. And I was just like, there's no chance you're just going to deploy all of that 425 million market buy everything at once. I think you want to be a little bit more strategic with it. But yeah, on markets, I think same sentiment as probably the last couple of times. Things are a little bit mixed. I have like Bok, I have no poop positions open. I've just been adding cash for the past few months. I think my last big buys was on Liberation Day, and just been adding to cash since. I'm waiting for either some blood in the market or some strong catalyst to like actually go direct, like long or short directionally. But yeah, that's how I'm feeling.
Yeah, I think it's pretty interesting watching crypto Twitter reason about entries, exits, whether or not the market's topped. After the Great Depression, like people in the United States were perpetually underallocated to financial assets until like the 80s, because the common advice coming out of it was like never buy stocks. Like our family's lost all our savings. You should never own stocks. Of course, they're extraordinarily risky. I think you got a little bit of that out after 2008 as well, where people lost significant amounts of money and it took them a while to get reallocated. It wasn't until 2013, I think, after that the market really started seeing strong performance post GFC. And I think you're seeing the same thing happen to crypto post 2022 and 2023, where you just had this brutal bear. And now anytime like Bitcoin's down 1% over the last 24 hours, and I don't know, I don't have a lot of traders on my timeline. I like more get my information from the team on like sentiment, but I'm even seeing it where like people are calling top, and we're seeing all these vehicles and should I sell all my bags? And that's crazy to me. Like I just look at the forward environment, and they're opening up the floodgates to institutional capital for the first time. And like even like the weird like NFT like buy a bunch of tokens and meet a creator things are like starting to happen. Like all these experiments that crypto people have wanted to happen are like being legalized. The capital is allowed to travel here, and I don't know. Very short-term oriented traders on the timeline are finding reasons to get out, which is that's good for us. But I don't see any reason to um, exit the market. To me, that's crazy.
Yeah, I think that's a great take. The like opposite side of this sentiment is that you've got people like James Wynn ripping 9 and 10 figure public perps trades on 40x leverage.
Do you guys think that that's real?
No, it's not.
I don't think it's real.
I mean, I think there's a LARP occurring there, but either way,
I think he's either dodgy or someone is funding him for some form of a reason. And they're just taking the opposite of whatever trade he's taking on another venue.
Is it a
I think
hyperliquid marketing scheme?
I don't
that's
think
the rumor on the timeline.
Is it actually? I don't think so. I saw he's interacting with CZ now, saying, "Hey, I DM'd you. Can you please onboard me to Binance?" So it's a pretty weird marketing scheme from the Hyperliquid guys.
You see, CZ actually mogged him.
Yeah, I did,
he said, "This guy can't even afford one BNB to send me a message."
CZ is so funny.
Whether you're building DeFi protocols, enterprise solutions, or next-gen dApps, AlgoKit has all the tools you'll need to build faster, safer, and smarter on Algorand. AlgoKit 3.0 now offers native TypeScript and Python support, visual debugging, and seamless testing. Build, test, and deploy with tools designed for speed and simplicity. Start building with AlgoKit today by following the link in today's show notes. This episode is brought to you by Ledger, the global leader in digital asset security. Celebrating 10 years of innovation, Ledger remains the most secure hardware wallet for your crypto and logins, trusted by 7 million users and securing 20% of the world's digital assets. Follow the link in today's show notes to grab your Ledger now. As always, investments in blockchain technology involve risk. Terms and conditions apply. Do your own research.
So they had that. Obviously, like the big talk on the timeline has been after Win is like how good are transparent trades, and there's like I think a pretty obvious take that it's not great because you can get hunted. So obviously, like CZ started posting about dark pools and stuff on the timeline and saying that like this is what happens in TradFi, this which that's why like on-chain transparency isn't great. And then we saw Jeff also posted quite long post about how wide transparency is good. To be honest with you, I think both sides kind of make sense. Like I think objectively, like intuitively, it doesn't make a lot of sense to have all of your trades public at all times to everybody. On the other hand, like transparent markets could make things more efficient. One thing I will say is that like if you are, I think I wrote about this 3 months ago for Blockworks Research, but there is one team that is building private execution on Hyperliquid. I keep begging people to let me get into this round. I don't know if they raised or they already have or not. I just can't. But it's called Silhouette. So if you're like somebody who likes Hyperliquid and are interested in dark pools, I'd recommend checking them out. I don't think they have a lot of documentation out yet, but it's at least something to keep track of. That's my like Hyperliquid diatribe of the day, I think. No, I have one more, but I'm saving that.
I like that because, I mean, even CZ chimed in and said, given recent events, I think it's a good time for someone to launch a dark pool perp dex. So, I mean, I think it's so right in line with that thought. Brian, I'm curious your take. I'm sure you've got a TradFi based view here
regarding public transparency on trading.
Yes.
Yeah, I think I think we need dark pools. It's just such a common market structure, and we'll do it. And I think it's like mostly OTC is where the stuff happens today, but it's mostly spot, perhaps some custom derivative stuff. Yeah, seems like a no-brainer. You know, yeah, it's just going to come with like all the Maxiism on the timeline, but in reality, like investors are just going to use it. So I'm excited to see them.
What's like the breakdown there? Like, dark pool trades relative to like overall volume on like top stocks, for example.
Yeah, it's pretty significant. I did a lot of work on dark pools in the 2014, 2015. The numbers have probably obviously changed. But no, they're really popular. They're really popular from large investors. I think I've seen stats that they're like 80% of total TradFi market volume, but I don't know if that's still the case.
I think by definition it's hard to know because they are dark pools.
Well, no, they have to post their volume now. I think in like 2016, there was a regulation passed, at least in the United States. So I don't know for total global volume, but in the United States, it was basically they have to post their volume, but they only do it at the end of every day or at the end of every week or something like that.
It's pretty good.
But then there's like there's like another issue of what I think they call it cross clearing, where if you are a desk and you know one person wants to sell and another one of your client wants to buy, like you just cross their volume on your own books, and that's like another form of dark market or of dark volume. So like when you try to incorporate that, you obviously the numbers are hard because you don't know that stuff, but that's a significant amount of volume as well.
I wanted to bring something up. I wanted to bring two things up. One is, what do you think about if we are in this like weird state of I don't know what is going on? Well, Ryan, you're not. You're very bullish as always. How are you, I guess, approaching information? Like, are you looking specifically, Mark, you mentioned this, that you're looking for some form of bullish catalyst. Like, what are you looking for? And if you're not getting what you're looking for, are you looking to like hedge exposure by potentially like shorting stuff?
I'm not that bearish where I'm looking to hedge anything right now. Probably the best way to quote unquote hedge is probably diversify. It still feels very P2P. So what I'm kind of looking for now is market share shifts. So like not necessarily overall increase in volume, but like who is getting the new volume now? Like we see like the SolFis of the world
Yep.
on Solana, and then we see Cetus, the hack on Sui, and then that whole DEX landscape is changing up now as well. It seems like it's so diversified over there. There's like a momentum and bluefin, and the market is kind of open up there for possibly a new winner if Cetus's reputation can't be undone there. That's mainly what I'm looking at right now.
That makes sense. I was gonna say both of the things you mentioned don't have tokens because SoFi doesn't have a token,
Yeah,
but
it doesn't.
Bluefin does.
I have a question. If you are thinking of shorting things, assume you could look at things in the market that have like no fundamental floor that are effectively like projects that are going to die. So perhaps like you can concentrate your shorts there. And I even think it's pretty interesting in the L2 space now that perhaps Ethereum is bringing activity back to its chain to some degree. You'll actually have some dead chains, like for the first time, like really dead chains where the teams just stop. Who were the dead chains? That could be an interesting short basket to hedge because you could potentially win in both markets, up and down market.
Just hedge like shorting in crypto is so difficult. Well, I guess shorting everywhere is very difficult, but in crypto it is increasing. It's more difficult, I think, because the market, I know we like to say that it's fundamentals, but maybe like 30, 40, 50% is fundamentals, and I think a lot of the rest of it is. Because the thing is that typically let's like take it from the L2. If an L2 is shit, and it's shit because it's kind of scammy, then they're doing like dodgy stuff with their holders, with their token concentration, with their market makers, and what could end up happening is you just get blown out eventually. It's also so news based still that it's like I don't like shorting stuff. I do agree with you that there are going to be like a handful of assets that are just going to be perma shorts, and I think we've had this entire cycle.
That's my fear too, Buck. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
I think
some of these L2s just go to us low enough market cap where some market maker, some news can just pump it, and you just get eroded on your short. Like,
Yeah. Go ahead.
no, generally speaking, like even some of the non-scammy ones, like the Arbitrums and Optimisms, or Starknets, like even their tokenomics, that the amount of token dilution coming out, their market caps are very similar, they're similar-ish to like a year, 2 years ago, but the actual token prices are down bad, So maybe that could be a safer short if you're looking at what the token unlock schedule is. But even then, I would still be cautious.
I'm happy you mentioned token unlock schedule because I want to talk about this a bit. So this is the L2's grow the pie.xyz. So Tyco has 1.46% of revenue across the L2s. Let me get you that in regular numbers. They made, this is 1 year. Oh, this is monthly. My bad, 1 sec. I can't find it. They made 125K. I don't know what their valuation is. I assume it's quite high, but they have a 71% cliff unlock coming up this week. So that's like one thing that you're going to be like, should I short this? But at the same time, it's going on a Binance launch pool this week as well. So it just went on a Binance launch pool. So that's like one of the things that ends up happening is teams end up coordinating it. Either Binance Labs, not CV now, or I can't remember what it's called now, but like the Binance Labs invested into it, or it has some form of something coming up that like they try to blow you out. So it's very difficult, even with an unlock, even knowing that this thing is probably fundamentally not worth anything. You still have to like double, triple guess yourself. So I have like huge respect for people who can like who are the guys on TradFi side that are like short only? Is it Hindenburg? I mean, I assume there's a lot.
They closed down actually. They recently shut down the offices, but they were the big guys, yeah. So even the best closed down eventually.
Yeah, like even if they can't make it, I don't know how. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree with you, Buck. I think it's clear for anyone who's like looked at these tokens and considered taking trades like that, you have to go a level or two deeper than just like, oh, there's an unlock coming up. Oh, it's going to get diluted. Like just how these events get approached. But if you get these these explicit examples where a 70% unlock happens and then the token rips 100% or something in a week, like, I mean, maybe that sets you up for an even better short than like prior to the event. So it's something to keep in mind. Like I agree, but when I look out across some of the L2s like that, maybe people were foaming at the mouth for like a year and a half, 2 years ago, like they already look quite beaten down. I mean, you might be right, Ryan, about the perpetual, but like the lower these get and the lower the liquidity is, like the more I would be concerned about getting eaten up by like a little pump squeeze.
Well, I agree. I think you have to time it. You have to be, a trader to an extent. You have to, sell rips and buy dips. Would be the opposite if you're shorting, right? Short rips and whatever, close your position on dips. But it's like, I think that there's there's like a good template that you can follow. It's like, is from a business perspective, is the thing a going concern? Is it generating fees? Is the team launching like a second token, right? Like, is the value, is the, I mean, no, clearly not.
What do you mean? The team is launching a second token called Seeker.
Well, that token doesn't have a claim on Solana Rev like SOL does, right? So it's not a second token.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
Let's continue.
I sharpened the blade on that kind of pushback already, so you kind of stepped in shit there. No, but yeah, but yeah, Solana is a going concern, but you can look at these other ones that aren't generating. And like I was just looking at one chain and they generated a few $100 in revenue the other day. Like they're getting paid less than individuals, right? So you got to think that the team's going to be thinking of doing something else. Potentially key members are leaving. Potentially, like you can have a LinkedIn premium subscription and you can see the total employee count of the foundation or something, like kind of rolling over, right? I think that there's perhaps some ways to target some interesting shorts in the market. Are you short Solana, Bach?
I am not. I did sell Solana though. It's a
Yeah.
Blockworks research crime. They're gonna beat me up after the pod. No, but I
Selling into weakness, nothing like it.
I bought other stuff. I
Yeah, he
don't know.
bought hype.
I'm kind of disillusioned with. I have enough that I won't cope, but I also am not sure if it's the most exciting thing for me to hold at this point. And even though we have very clearly highlighted the fundamentals of Solana as opposed to other chains a lot as Blockworks research, and I think we were one of the earlier ones to do that, which is why we got a lot of hate for doing it. Like, we're very clear that this is undervalued compared to Ethereum, and we were right. I didn't buy Ethereum, by the way. I'm just like wondering how much of that gap is going to close because Solana is going to go up versus Ethereum is just going to keep coming down. And I just think there's more exciting stuff out there that I could make more money on as opposed to Solana. However, I am still avoiding tokens launching not like on Ethereum, etc. So I still think that Solana will have a lot of activity. I'm just not sure if it warranted the allocation that I had, if that makes sense. I don't want to be bearish Solana because I don't think it's going to go down. I just think there's sexier stuff out there for me to buy.
I think you make a good point, Buck. Like, I mean, I can recall, back to last summer, all the not all the SOL bulls, all the SOL bulls wanted SOL to go to $3,000 or whatever and flip ETH that way. But I think, people with thinking a little further ahead, I did see that sentiment of like, maybe SOL won't go to $3,000 a coin in the next year, but it wouldn't be absurd to see a flipping happen in the reverse direction where, the fundamentals anchor these tokens back down to realistic valuations. And if we're looking at Rev or, Rev share to token holders, then, we're on that course. We'll see kind of if that ship continues.
AlgoKit 3.0 includes all the tools and open source resources you need to unleash the power and performance of the Algorand blockchain. Access a resilient network with instant finality, consistently high throughput and low fees, and layer 1 features like atomic swaps and native assets. No smart contracts required. Whether you're building DeFi protocols, enterprise solutions, or next-gen dApps, AlgoKit has all the tools you'll need to build faster, safer, and smarter. Start building with AlgoKit today by following the link in today's show notes. Ledger is the global leader in digital asset security, trusted by 7 million users and securing 20% of the world's digital assets. In recent years, Ledger has built a comprehensive ecosystem of products and services, making digital ownership more secure and accessible for everyone. Ledger's newest devices, Ledger Stacks and Ledger Flex, introduced the world's first secure touchscreens, making it easier and safer to manage your transactions and assets. Alongside Ledger Stacks and Ledger Flex, they have also launched the Ledger Security Key app, offering a safer alternative to traditional passwords and enhancing your digital security. Follow the link into today's show notes to get started with Ledger today. As always, investments in blockchain technology involve risk. Terms and conditions apply. Do your own research.
But I want to say on this discussion, though, like, Ryan, I'd want to get your take, 'cause I know you were pounding the table a little bit about like SOL ETFs, JitoSOL, like the relationship there. There was a post last week from Jito about JitoSOL being the first LST named in a registered SOL ETF prospectus. Like, what does this mean? Is this meaningful for SOL as an asset? Like, we knew ETFs were coming, or is this like more meaningful for Jito? Like, what's the thinking there?
Yeah, I don't think that I have the best view on this in the market. I think that there are people like way closer to the metal that would know more. Like, for example, like I think maybe I take it back. We have a good like pulse on like institutional demand for things. We're not an allocator, obviously, so like we're not pushing the buy button as an allocator, but there are some people that are very bullish on a Solana ETF from flow from in terms of flows, that are like saying like institutions want this asset as opposed to ETH, which was kind of a flop. I don't know. I've been short every ETF, like kind of intellectually, like, right. Like I didn't think that Bitcoin was going to get meaningful flows in it. While it exceeded my expectations, did fantastic. I was bearish on the ETH ETF, and it was right to be bearish on that thing. I got to be honest. I would be like over the next 12 months, like I think that the market's overestimating what the SOL ETF could do in terms of flows, but I don't know. There's smart investment managers that are saying that we're wrong on that. I was going to do a report about how we thought that JitoSOL would be the most likely ETF to, LST to get an ETF. I didn't publish it because I just felt I got a lot of pushback from the team, and I felt like kind of uncomfortable. If we want to go to market on a thesis, we want to be pretty sure of it, and I just don't think I know enough about the inner workings of the ETFs and what regulators are going to say yes or no to what. But it does seem reasonable that the JitoSOL LST could perhaps beat an ETH liquid staking LST, just given the complexities around staking there and unstaking, right? That like the queue for ETH makes the kind of withdrawal times uncertain, and the Jito team's done a fantastic job with just like connecting with people in Washington. So I don't know how big it's going to be for Sol, but I think it's more important for Jito, right? Like if Jito opens up an avenue for TradFi flows directly into the JitoSOL ETF, its dominance as an LST provider on Solana really compounds and has a structural advantage against its competition. And I think they're like 5% of total stake now. Like you could see them getting up to Lido levels of total stake if they pull that off. So it's exciting for Jito. It's exciting for Solana, but way more exciting for Jito.
One other thing with SOL is like I think 0.25% of the circulating supply unlocks every day right now, which is quite high.
It seems high.
Every month, not every day. Jesus Christ, every month. Holy fuck.
But just on the SEC thing, I think even bigger than this JitoSOL mention in some, I can't even remember the name of the SEO on ETF. Like last week, the SEC put out a statement on staking in general, talking about how staking activities, they don't deem staking activities to be a security. But then when the logic for why was that it failed the fourth prong of the Howey test. And just for background, Howey test is a kind of soft test to see if something is security, investment of money, is it a common enterprise, is it an expectation of profits, and then lastly, is it derived from the efforts of others? And so it failed the fourth one, derived from the efforts of others, meaning that but only self-staking, staking with a self-custodial staking with a third party, or custodial staking with a qualified third party, only those are not considered like security-like, which kind of, because they follow the rules of the protocol, they're not doing anything extra, so there's no effort of others, right? But the fact that it failed the fourth one, which the effort of others, but it didn't fail the third one, a common enterprise, so they still deem it as a common enterprise, or at least it didn't fail that one, which makes me question what does that mean for liquid staking tokens now? Because like, is that derived on the efforts of others? Again, I'm not a lawyer, but then we have to go into that. And then also with the JitoSOL ETF, like Jito is an out of protocol, I don't know what they call it in Solana, sidecar, whatever, right? It's not following protocol rules, which was why the SEC allowed self-staking, because it followed protocol rules, right? They have their own rules, right? And so I just wonder how they're going to look at this now, given that that prong wasn't clearly failed for the regular staking. I'm not super bullish on it, but I hope it does come out. And then the next point is, remember Kraken under the previous guidance, their staking got banned. They had a settlement with the SEC because they were giving out a specified interest. They were investing in some of the things at their own timing, not on Ethereum's timeline. So then I wonder if an ETF stakes 50%, has to choose when to unstake to pay out the cash flows. Like, again, is that following protocol? Like, how is that deemed if as following protocol rules, or is that derived on the efforts of others, i.e. the SEO? So just, even though I think it was really great news for the industry to get staking not as a security, it kind of made me a little bit less optimistic on liquid token staking, especially in the form of ETFs.
Shouldn't the incremental news from Jito being named in a ETF filing after this, after Hester Pierce's note, shouldn't that make you incrementally bullish that an issuer felt that it would be worth their effort to move that forward?
I mean, I control F any document, and then I saw the mention, and they're talking about they're going to do staking, and then in the future, if liquid staking token is allowed, such as in brackets JitoSOL,
Gotcha.
then this is something they would consider. I was like, okay, this is just some
Yeah.
issue mentioning JitoSOL in a document for something if it happens in the future. And
Gotcha.
and that might get scrapped. I don't know if the SEC will just make them remove that part either. So it's just a filing.
So this is like a credited in the fine print type of situation, baited into a headline type of deal.
Yeah, I mean, to Jita's credit, they did say they were the first listed. They didn't oversell it. They stated what the facts was, but then the market can take it as how they like it, how they like.
I would assume that issuers choose their words very carefully with a SEC submitted document. I would assume that there's not too much hype involved, but I don't know who is the issuer. It's not like it was BlackRock. It was like some like no name ETF issuer, right?
Yeah, Rex Osprey or Osprey. I don't know how to pronounce
Oh,
it.
that's
And
right.
I haven't heard of them before, but yeah.
Yeah, they're crypto native. They've been
Okay.
around for a while. But yeah, it's not like BlackRock said it, which would be more significant.
This episode is brought to you by Marinade. Marinade is focused on developing staking technology that strengthens the Solana network and connects SOL holders with the best staking rates available. With solutions for both DeFi and TradFi, including liquid and native staking, as well as direct enterprise integrations, Marinade's high-performance staking delegation platform brings billions in liquidity and security to the SOL market. To learn more, follow the link in today's show notes, and thanks again to Marinade for sponsoring today's episode. As always, investments in blockchain technology involve risk. Terms and conditions apply. Do your own research.
We can jump on if there are no other thoughts. Something I do want to chat about that I don't know that we've talked much. We talked about CZ today. We didn't talk about Binance, BNB, or the chain. I don't know that we've really broached much conversation around BNB Chain, but we've got a great dash on Blockworks research site. I'm going to pull something up. There's been some interesting activity there. I feel like for many years, BNB, BSC, the BNB chain, I think is what it's called now, not BSC, but has been sort of like this thing that exists and is over there to us in the West, but doesn't really get like broached or talked about much. But they've been having some interesting activity. Let me just zoom out here a little bit. But on BNB chain, we can see right in, let's pull this out a little bit. We can see right around January time when the Trump token launched on Solana, there was a big uptick in meme trading activity on BNB, like a quick spike from a couple hundred million a day to just straight up into the multi-billions a day in meme trading volume. Part of this jump as well was CZ kind of came out publicly at that time and was like, maybe I should be using things on chain. I'm going to play around with dexes. Let's play around with memes. Some memes kind of spawned out of CZ. His dog's name Broccoli became a meme. They made a test token, I think, that went to like a couple hundred mil market cap. But either way, the BNB guys or the team, the Binance affiliated folks and CZ have kind of been sort of promoting the on-chain ecosystem a little bit. They've been giving shout outs to their launchpad for meme lately from Binance affiliated accounts. Things like that, trying to spur more activity there. And you can see zooming out, there wasn't a lot of stuff happening for a long time. And even early in 2024, when when Solana was kind of having its run of initial fame, not much was really happening on BNB chain relatively. So it's interesting that they jumped in and started really focusing on this. I do want to point out that this recent activity here, this project tokens, the Polyhedra ZKJ token, launched a few weeks ago and is doing, billions in volume a day. I can't really explain why that is other than, it's in this Binance Alpha launch pool thing. And I think there's maybe a points program associated with it. But either way, the meme activity, some of this project, maybe wash volume activity, has been kind of up and to the right a little bit as of late for BNB chain, and I think it's kind of going under the radar. I don't know if you guys have any strong thoughts here, but the really only other big takeaway I can make is that actually we have it right here. on dexes for the longest time. I mean, and still now, let's do percent. Like PancakeSwap just kind of dominates BNB Chain. Nobody's ever really tried to step in. Uniswap got a bump here, and I think this was related to that ZKJ token catching some of the volume there initially, but it seems like that has all gone to PancakeSwap since. They kind of just dominate this ecosystem, and they're just chugging out, billions of dollars in trading volume a day. If we go back to the number, something like 7-8 billion in total daily DEX trading volume on BNB Chain, which is sizable, I think, relative to if we're talking about SOL, for example.
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting observation. About a year ago, I probably considered a BNB short because nothing was going on the chain. And then one of the Blockworks analysts at the time told me I had a mental illness if I wanted to short BNB. So I didn't put that out. It's, if you look at the on-chain perp dex to centralized perp dex ratio, and then the on-chain spot to spot volume ratios, they're like both up and to the right. It seems like on-chain is slowly winning against the more centralized service providers in crypto. I don't know how long that lasts, given crypto's legal in the biggest capital market in the world now, and there's regulatory clarity around the corner. But if you think that trend is going to continue, you probably prioritize your chain as opposed to your centralized exchange, and appears like Binance is doing that, which is pretty cool.
An obvious big winner from this is PancakeSwap, right? Past few months they've been burning either between like 10 and $40 million worth of their token each month. So like they're one of the biggest, largest revenue generating protocols in the space. I can't, maybe like top 10, definitely top 20. And returning value to token holders, at least in the form of burning the token. And it trades at a relatively low valuation compared to other dexes. And I always wonder if that's like the Chinese versus US discrepancy. Like famously, US equities trade at a higher valuation to Chinese equities, even at the same like levels of revenue growth assumptions and whatnot. And then you look at other tokens similar, like the ones that are deemed Chinese tokens, and they have similar discounts in their valuation. So I always wonder if that's the case, if there's a bit of uncertainty or Western bias or regulations. But PancakeSwap has been around for a while and actually has some strong fundamentals.
Its FTV to fees or revenue is like 2 times for PancakeSwap, and it's the 4th highest earning on-chain application last month.
I think it's interesting to note, I've got the chart pulled up, that they basically achieved similar trading volumes in January, February of this year as they did at peak in 2021. So, actually much more, because let's pull these off. They beat out their 2021 trading volume numbers. I think largely probably propelled by the CZ kind of push for meme trading. I think this recent month, there's maybe an asterisk on that one with the ZKJ trading volume, but I think with how large it was at the time, like Ethereum certainly did not return to its 2021 levels of activity. So I think this is impressive to say the least, because you had a large amount of activity at that time. SafeMoon was a very large asset. There were lots of dog coins trading on BSC at the time. I don't have a strong thesis there, Mark, on what you mentioned, outside of like it just feels like one of those things where in the US or in the West, like people have just been afraid to touch it or go much further than just kind of acknowledging that BNB exists. I think there's like this maybe weak association of just like don't really understand maybe the relationship between the token, the chain, the exchange, and like question marks over like, are they using the token internally, like incentivizing certain different things? Like how does that play into the BNB chain itself? Like, I think there's just some question marks there that maybe people in the West, like, especially if you're not using Binance products, like you just kind of have no clue.
It's opaque at the end of the day. Like there's just like this veil of uncertainty over the whole thing. That like the East-West divide is real, and if you don't speak the language, you don't understand the culture, you miss the idiosyncrasies, and then there's like this opaque relationship in that whole ecosystem. It becomes really hard to underwrite, meaningfully participating. So, I mean, Danny, do you still participate in the finance ecosystem? I know that's where you got your stripes.
No, that's why I'm maybe more surprised now, is that I think basically all the people that I knew alongside myself who were trading in the BSC trenches in 2021, like nobody's touching that ecosystem right now. It's I'd have to imagine it's very like East dominated now, because I think people in the West are using Solana, using Hyperliquid, using Base even.
Come on, chain base. One thing I will say about Cake is that they actually also recently updated their tokenomics. They cut down the emissions for Cake from 29K to 20K initially, and then they further reduced it to 14.5, I think. So they halved emissions. And they retired VE Cake and the gauge system. Like the past cycles demons that have been haunting a lot of these protocols of like vote escrow tokens are finally being phased out. It's overcomplicated mumbo jumbo. And I'm honestly I didn't know it was at 2x. To be honest with you, Ryan, FTV, that seems ridiculous to me.
Say that again.
I didn't know it was only at a 2x PE. PS? PE.
Yeah, 2x on the trailing 180 annualized, 180 days.
But to that point, Buck, like even that vote that they got rid of the VE tokens, like one address came in and voted to get rid of the VE, and he got a chunk of the vote, and everybody was like, where did this massive token holder come from? And they had no
CT.
clue. So that kind of adds to the the speculation, but it kind of adds to the opacity of the pancake decks as well. This just adds to it, even though I do think it was the right move overall. But
Yeah, I think there's a question there too of like, if you could get into CZ's head and you knew he was going to be bullish on meme coins in January, then like, I think you have yourself an easy long there, right? Like bid up the decks that's going to facilitate that. But, without knowing that, I think you would have been in the dark. And I think the broader question here is like, whatever the valuation is right now, does that low multiple reflect uncertainty? Are they going to maintain this level of trading volume, or is it going to be another spike and then they'll return back to the prior levels?
I think it's good if the project owner comes in and says, fuck you guys, you're wrong. We need to phase these out. Like, I think at the end of the day, and that's the whole point of investing in something. No, like you can just say, okay, well, I don't agree with what this guy does, so I'm not going to invest in this. Like, I'm going to sell it and leave. I don't think you should listen to everybody on what they think, because people think of their own, like as a business, I guess the business owner also thinks about his own bags, but I don't know. I think you need to give the person who created the company or created the chain or the protocol, whatever, a bit more say than everybody else. I think some protocols and chains have this issue where they try to let everybody have a voice, and I don't want everybody to have a voice. Like in real life, would you listen to everybody? No, it's fucking stupid. You should only listen to the people who are like, who know the product or who have some idea of what it needs to become. You shouldn't listen to every Alice and Bob.
Experiments in direct democracy, they don't go well.
You're telling me.
Was it direct democracy though here in this case? Wasn't Mark just describing someone who had a massive bag to influence the direction? That's kind of like what we're saying is the ideal outcome.
Yeah, in this instance, we probably think like the opacity around it stinks. Like no one knew that person was going to come in with the bag and change the vote. But, playing decentralized token where everyone gets a say, like we've just seen how terribly that goes for everyone involved. So like Apple would be nothing if Steve Jobs wasn't making all the decisions. And it's like Berkshire Hathaway is great because Warren Buffett is at the helm, not because he asks me what I think he should do with his portfolio.
That'd be so funny.
The reality is you want these things to ship, not argue on the timeline. So
Yeah.
it makes sense.
And I think increasingly people are realizing this, but they're like kind of shifting blame. So a lot of Solana people will say, oh, like Ethereum takes fucking ages to make decisions. And then Ethereum people will say, oh, like Bitcoin's going to crumble under quantum stuff because they take fucking ages to make decisions. At the end of the day, it's like, I think we're all agreeing on the same thing. You need 3 to 4 people who are leading the organization, and then the rest of you just get to and watch, sit in your little chair in the corner and just watch what they're doing. And if you don't like it, then you can just leave.
Yeah, I think that's fair. People love the quantum doom posting for Bitcoin. I don't know what realistic timeline that's on, but I do think Bitcoin is a little bit separated in that I think some of the appeal is that nothing changes and people like that. Whereas in basically every other case, it's like we want to ship, the new money connected internet, the internet computer, whatever you want to call it. But you need to ship if you want to do that.
Okay.
Cool. Bach, I think you have a hard stop here. We can call it there if we want to do some just final
Just put
thoughts.
the blame on me. Ryan also has a hard stop.
Ryan, well,
sorry.
Ryan always has a hard stop, man. You can't get Ryan in a room for longer than 45 minutes. I gotta go.
All right.
I'll be free at 10 at a time. I'll be free at 2. I have to be here because my fresh direct order is coming, so I have to be here.
What are we getting this time?
I don't know. I don't order it.
All right. I have a hard stop now. First, before we have the hard stop, let's talk permissionless. A couple weeks out, June 24th through the 26th, we're all going to be there. Everyone on this pod is going to be there. We're probably all going to get in the dunk tank. Mark, you're going to be there. You're flying out.
Water.
Hell yeah. Ryan Cashflow's Connor is going to get in the dunk tank. And any of you lions out there that want to dunk this small dog, come out.
Do not call Ryan Connor the small dog.
I'm out of here. Bye.
Thanks for watching, guys. We will see you next time. Peace out. Live stream on Friday. We'll see you then. Bye.